There comes a point in every life when you stand face to face with nothing. No money, no connections, no direction, just you and the silence of your own potential staring back. Most people break at that moment. They convince themselves that nothing means the end. But the truth is, nothing is the perfect beginning. Because when you have nothing holding you back. No expectations, no limits, no chains. You are free to build everything from the ground up, not from privilege, not from luck, but from pure will. That is where real power is born. In the struggle, in the scarcity, in the grind no one sees. Greatness never begins with abundance. It begins with hunger. Hunger sharpens your focus, fuels your persistence, and forges your character into something unstoppable. Every empire started with empty hands and a burning vision. Every innovator, every leader, every creator began in a place where they had more dreams than resources, more questions than answers. But they refused to let their limitations define them. They understood one unshakable truth. Leverage isn't about what you have, it's about how you use what's left. The smallest resource, the tiniest opportunity, can become the foundation of something extraordinary if you know how to multiply its value. That's the essence of leverage, to turn weakness into strength, rejection into direction, obstacles into openings. The world doesn't reward those who complain about what they lack. It rewards those who create advantage out of adversity. Building leverage when you have nothing isn't about waiting for the right time. It's about deciding that now is the time. It's about looking at your current reality, no matter how small, and saying, this is enough to start. Because the greatest power you'll ever have is the ability to take action from where you are with what you have. It doesn't matter if your network is small or your bank account is empty. If your vision is powerful enough, it will magnetize the resources you need. Every step you take toward your goal, no matter how invisible it feels, shifts the odds in your favor. Action creates movement. Movement builds momentum, and momentum turns nothing into something. There is no leverage in excuses, but there is infinite leverage in execution. The moment you stop waiting for permission, stop blaming your circumstances, and stop expecting someone else to open the door, you realize you already hold the key. You don't need everything to start. You just need the courage to begin. Because leverage isn't found in what's outside of you. It's found in what's inside. Your mind, your vision, your persistence. That's where the real power lives. That's what Napoleon Hill meant when he said that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater advantage. The seed is there, in your failure, in your rejection, in your pain. But it's up to you to water it, nurture it, and turn it into power. So if you feel small, if you feel unseen, if you feel like life has left you behind, remember this. Greatness was never built in comfort. It's born in the fire of nothing. Every successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are. Uncertain, unseen, and under-resourced. The only difference is they decided not to stay there. They built leverage from the ground up, using their struggle as fuel. You can do the same. This is not the end of your story. It's the ignition point. Because when you have nothing left to lose, you finally realize you have everything to gain. Every great journey begins not in comfort, but in hunger. When a person stands at the edge of nothing, no money, no resources, no connections, it's easy to think the game is already lost. But that emptiness, that quiet ache inside, is not weakness. It's raw power waiting to be directed. The truth is, when you have nothing, you possess something far greater than you realize, desire. And desire, once awakened, becomes the first spark that ignites. 'Tis the entire engine of success. It's the force that refuses to let you stay still. The fire that keeps you awake at night because your spirit knows there's something more meant for you. The world often teaches us to equate leverage with possessions, wealth, status, influence, but those are only results, not starting points. Real leverage begins the moment you decide that your current reality does not define your future. It begins the instant you turn frustration into determination, when instead of asking, why me, you ask, what now? Desire is the seed of power because it turns your mind into a magnet. It draws ideas, opportunities, and people who align with your hunger. That's the silent chemistry of ambition. It transforms the invisible into the inevitable. When you have nothing, you're forced to look inward. And that is where every empire is built. You stop depending on what you can hold and start depending on what you can imagine. You begin to see possibilities where others only see walls. You begin to realize that the lack of resources is not a curse, it's an invitation to master resourcefulness. Those who are given everything rarely learn to innovate, but those who start with nothing have no choice but to create their own leverage out of sheer will. It's in that struggle, in that relentless pursuit, that true greatness is forged. Think of desire as the fire that shapes metal. It burns, it hurts, it tests. But what comes out of that furnace is stronger, sharper, more resilient. When life strips you down to nothing, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The universe removes the unnecessary so you can rebuild from the essential. Every legend, every inventor, every leader you've ever admired began at that same starting line of nothingness. Their difference was not talent or luck. It was an unshakable decision to want something so badly that no excuse could stop them. Desire also has a strange way of making ordinary people extraordinary. It gives the powerless a reason to act, and in action lies transformation. The mind that desires deeply enough stops seeing limits. It starts seeing leverage in every situation. Rejection becomes redirection. Failure becomes data. Delay becomes discipline. Each challenge becomes another gear in the machinery of success. When you have that fire in your gut, you stop waiting for opportunity to knock. You start building the door yourself. But desire must be more than wishful thinking. It must evolve into purpose. The moment desire crystallizes into a clear and specific aim, you begin to gain control over it. That clarity channels energy. It tells your mind where to focus and your heart where to persist. Without desire, purpose cannot begin. Without purpose, leverage cannot grow. So when you stand with nothing but hunger in your heart, understand this: you already possess the first and most vital ingredient for greatness. The beginning is always the hardest, because the mind doubts and the world is silent. But that silence is not emptiness. It's space being cleared for the sound of your own determination. Every dream starts with someone whispering to themselves, "I will not stay where I am." That whisper becomes a promise. That promise becomes momentum, and that momentum becomes destiny. Desire is not a small thing, it's everything. It's the first flicker of light in the dark, the proof that something within you still believes. And when you protect that spark, feed it, and refuse to let it die, it grows into a fire no obstacle can withstand. That is how the journey begins, not with power, not with privilege, but with the pure, unstoppable desire to rise. Leverage is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people think it's about having wealth, status, or influence. They see it as a tool reserved for the powerful, the privileged, the already successful. But that's not leverage. That's the outcome of it. True leverage doesn't begin when you have more than others. It begins when you start you. Sing what you already have better than others do. It's the art of multiplying your results through clarity, strategy, and relentless creativity. It's taking one small move and turning it into a ripple that moves mountains. Leverage isn't something you wait to acquire. It's something you learn to build, moment by moment, decision by decision. When you have nothing, your first leverage is your mind, your ability to think differently, to spot what others overlook, to connect ideas in ways that no one else dares to. It's not about the size of your resources, it's about the sharpness of your resourcefulness. The person who knows how to think deeply, plan cleverly, and act decisively can create momentum out of thin air. The person who knows how to turn limitations into strategies has already outsmarted half the competition. Leverage is about awareness, the awareness of what's in your hands, even when it seems like nothing. Maybe you have time, maybe you have skills, maybe you have courage. Whatever it is, it can be multiplied. When you shift your focus from what's missing to what's possible, you start to see opportunities appear everywhere. Every conversation, every challenge, every rejection carries hidden potential. The great secret is that leverage is not an external thing. It's an internal perspective. Two people can face the same problem. One sees it as a dead end, the other sees it as a doorway. The difference lies in mindset. The one who understands leverage sees the world as flexible, negotiable, and full of unclaimed opportunities. They don't ask, "What can I get?" They ask, "How can I use what I already have to create more?" When you have nothing, your leverage might be your story, the strength you've built through survival, the lessons you've earned through failure, the hunger you carry in your chest. Pain itself can be leverage if you choose to turn it into purpose. Every setback has two paths. You can let it break you, or you can make it build you. Thos. Who build leverage out of adversity become unstoppable because they've learned to extract power from pain. The person who can find use in struggle never truly runs out of options. That's the real secret. Leverage is not about possessions, it's about perception. It's not about control over others, it's about mastery over yourself. Every great achievement in history is a story of someone who found leverage where none seemed to exist. They didn't wait for perfect timing, they created it. They didn't wait for support, they inspired it. They didn't wait for a chance, they made one. And that's what you must do. Use what you have right now, however small, and multiply it through discipline, focus, and boldness, your ideas, your effort, your voice. They are all levers waiting to be pulled, and the moment you pull them with conviction, the world begins to shift. Leverage isn't about having everything. It's about realizing you already have enough to start. The power to rise doesn't come from possessions. It comes from perception, courage, and the will to use what others ignore. That is the beginning of true leverage. Not waiting for the world to give you power, but realizing you can create it from nothing. There comes a moment in every person's life when drifting is no longer enough. You can't wander your way to greatness. You have to walk toward it with intention. The world doesn't reward confusion. It rewards clarity. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is definiteness of purpose. When you know exactly what you want, your energy aligns, your focus sharpens, and your decisions become precise. A clear purpose acts like a compass. It doesn't eliminate the storms, but it always points you toward true north. Without that direction, even the most talented minds scatter their efforts into 1,000 fragments, never gaining momentum. But with purpose, every small action becomes a step toward something larger, something meaningful. When your mind caves, now's where it's going. The world starts to rearrange itself around your intention. Doors open that once seemed sealed shut. People appear at the right time, and opportunities begin to align with your path, not by luck, but by design. Definiteness of purpose is power because it disciplines the mind. It gives your thoughts a target, your emotions a mission, and your time a reason. When you have a clear goal, distractions lose their grip on you. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes only to what moves you forward. Purpose transforms chaos into structure, fear into focus, and hesitation into determination. It doesn't matter how far you are from your destination. What matters is that you finally know where you're going. Clarity is a magnet. It draws resources, ideas, and people who resonate with your vision. The universe doesn't respond to confusion. It responds to commitment. When you truly decide that you will achieve something, you activate forces that go far beyond your current understanding. The mind begins to notice patterns. The heart finds endurance. And every setback becomes a test of how much you mean what you say you want. When you have nothing, definiteness of purpose becomes your foundation. It gives meaning to your struggle and direction to your actions. Without it, you spend your energy chasing distractions and reacting to circumstances. But when you have a definite goal, even the smallest resources begin to multiply. You no longer waste time wondering if you can. You spend your time finding how you will. That single shift changes everything. Purpose gives you endurance when motivation fades. It reminds you why you started when the world gives you reasons to stop. Every person who has ever built something lasting began with a definite purpose. They didn't always know how, but they knew why. And that why carried them through every difficulty, every doubt, every delay. The mind is a powerful instrument, but without focus, it's scattered energy, like sunlight diffused through fog. Purpose is the lens that concentrates that light into fire. It burns through resistance and illuminates the path forward. You don't need to know every step. You just need to know the direction. Once you fix your purpose firmly in your mind, you begin to attract everything necessary to fulfill it. That's the mysterious magnetic force of clarity. It commands attention, both from within and from the world around you. So when you stand with empty pockets and uncertain odds, do not say you have nothing. If you have a clear, burning purpose, you already hold the blueprint of everything you'll ever need, because definiteness of purpose is the great equalizer. It gives direction to the lost, power to the weak, and momentum to those who refuse to drift. When your heart is locked on your goal and your mind refuses to be moved, nothing in the world can stop you. Adversity is not the enemy of success. It is its training ground. Every challenge, every failure, every closed door carries a hidden message. Strength is being forged. When life pushes you to the edge, it's not trying to destroy you, it's trying to awaken you. Adversity strips away the unnecessary, exposes the truth, and forces you to discover what you're really made of. Most people run from difficulty, thinking it's a sign to stop. But those who understand the secret of growth know that adversity is the greatest source of leverage there is. It teaches you things comfort never could. It shapes resilience, builds mental muscle, and refines your focus. The hardest moments in life are not punishments. They are preparation for the power you're meant to handle. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without loss, there is no appreciation. Without adversity, there is no depth. Every successful person you've ever heard of had a moment when everything seemed impossible, when the dream looked too far, when the world said no, when their strength broke under pressure. But instead of surrendering, they learned to use that pain as fuel. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the ability to turn wounds into wisdom. Adversity gives you two choices. Either you let it break you, or you use it to build yourself into something unshakable. The moment you decide that every setback has meaning, you take back control of your story. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your own power. Life will test you, but every test carries a reward hidden within it. The people who rise are those who dig deep enough to find it. When you have nothing, adversity becomes your teacher. It trains your patience, hardens your resolve, and forces you to create solutions from thin air. You start to understand that failure isn't final. It's feedback. It's information, not identity. Each rejection, each disappointment is showing you how to adjust, how to grow, how to become stronger than you were before. If you listen closely, adversity whispers lessons about persistence, adaptability, and courage. It teaches you to stop looking for an easier path and start becoming a stronger traveler. That's the real leverage, not escaping difficulty, but learning to master it. Once you realize that your challenges are shaping you, not stopping you, you begin to move differently. You start to welcome resistance because you know it's the sign of growth. A life without adversity is a life without evolution. Greatness is never built in peace, it's built in storms. The diamond is born under pressure. The seed grows by breaking through the soil. The muscle strengthens through resistance. Nature itself is proof that struggle is the birthplace of strength. So when you find yourself in hard times, remember, this is not the end, it's the beginning of transformation. The very thing that seems to be blocking you might be the very thing preparing you for something greater. The pain you feel now is not wasted, it's being converted. D into power. Adversity is the universe's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Your answer is not in words, it's in how you respond. So when life gets hard, don't curse it. Learn from it, rise through it. Because the person who learns to turn adversity into advantage doesn't just survive, they ascend. And once you've mastered that, there's no challenge left in this world that can ever defeat you. Faith is the invisible force that turns the impossible into the inevitable. It's the one form of leverage that requires nothing but belief. Belief so deep it becomes a living energy within you. Faith is not about ignoring reality. It's about creating a new one through conviction. When everything around you looks hopeless, when logic says you're finished, faith whispers, try one more time. It's that whisper that separates the... And that's when the shift happens. The world begins to respond not to what you say, but to what you truly believe. When you have nothing, faith becomes everything. It's the one resource that can't be taken from you. You can lose money, status, or support. But as long as you hold faith, you're still in the fight. Faith gives strength to the tired, light to the lost, and purpose to the broken. It doesn't erase fear. It teaches you to move forward in spite of it. It's the quiet confidence that even though you can't see the outcome, something inside you knows, I will find a way. That certainty turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. The person who believes they can, even with nothing in their hands, has already defeated the one who doubts. Even with everything. Faith bends reality because it bends your perception. And what you perceive determines how you act, and how you act determines how the world reacts. The beauty of faith is that it multiplies under pressure. The more you're tested, the stronger it grows. When the world doubts you, faith becomes your silent rebellion, your refusal to give up. It is the inner voice that says, keep going, even when everything in you screams to quit. Faith turns waiting into patience, effort into endurance, and pain into purpose. It transforms uncertainty into possibility. Without faith, nothing begins. With it, nothing is impossible. So when you feel lost, when you feel small, when you feel unseen, remember, faith doesn't need approval. It just needs commitment. Hold your vision close, speak your dreams into existence, and act like it's already yours. That's how faith works, not by waiting for miracles, but by becoming one. Because faith is the inner engine that keeps you moving long before the world starts to notice. And by the time it does, it will call you unstoppable. Everything begins in the mind. Every victory, every empire, every discovery first lived as a thought before it ever became real. Your mind is the workshop of your destiny, and the thoughts you allow to live there determine the kind of life you build. Most people underestimate the power of their own thinking. They believe circumstances shape them, but it's their thoughts that sculpt those circumstances. You cannot think defeat and live in victory. You cannot fill your mind with doubt and expect confidence to bloom. The thoughts you choose to entertain are not passive. They are blueprints for your future. Every single thing you hold, wear, touch, or admire was once invisible, an idea born from the mind of someone who refused to let it die. That's the mastery of thought, the understanding that your inner world always precedes your outer world. The mind is the most powerful lever you have, and when you learn to use it with precision and discipline, you no longer chase opportunities. You create them. Your thoughts are seeds, and your mind is fertile ground. Whatever you plant consistently will grow, whether it's faith or fear, confidence or hesitation, gratitude or resentment. The problem is, most people allow their minds to run wild, feeding on negativity, distraction, and comparison. They let external noise dictate internal direction. But the person who learns to master their thoughts becomes unstoppable. They guard their mental space like a sacred territory. They don't let fear take root. They don't entertain limitations. They deliberately feed their mind with ideas that empower, inspire, and elevate. Mastery of thought doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means refusing to let those problems dominate your thinking. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about deciding that even imperfection can lead to progress. When you choose your thoughts with intention, you become the designer of your life rather than its passenger. When you have nothing, thought is your greatest weapon. It costs nothing to imagine, but it can buy you everything. Every great comeback, every invention, every revolution began with a single thought that someone refused to abandon. When you master your thinking, you stop reacting to life and start directing it. You begin to see that even your challenges are neutral. It's your interpretation that gives them power. A negative mind finds obstacles in every opportunity, but a trained mind finds opportunity in every obstacle. That's the dividing line between success and mediocrity. The moment you take responsibility for your thoughts, you reclaim authority over your life. You realize that you are not your fears, not your failures, not your past. You are the thinker behind them, and you have the power to choose a new thought at any moment. That's freedom. Thought mastery is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong practice. It requires awareness, repetition, and discipline. Just as a sculptor chips away stone to reveal the figure within, you must chip away negative patterns to uncover your highest self. Your thoughts should serve you, not sabotage you. When you master the art of directing them toward vision, gratitude, and belief, your energy changes, and when your energy changes, your results follow. So guard your mind. Protect it from fear, from envy, from anything that steals your focus. Every time you replace a thought of doubt with a thought of possibility, you shift your future ever so slightly toward greatness. And one day, those tiny shifts add up to transformation. Remember this, you can't control the world, but you can control your mind. And the mind, when mastered, controls the world. You can think your way toward a dream for only so long before the universe demands movement. Ideas are electricity, but action is the current that makes them flow. Momentum doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's built step by step through deliberate motion. The most brilliant thought in the world is nothing until you give it legs. Too many people wait for confidence before acting, but confidence is born from action, not the other way around. When you move, no matter how small that movement is, you send a signal to life itself. I'm serious about this. Action converts invisible intention into tangible progress. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to start. You can't steer a parked car, and you can't direct a stagnant life. The moment you begin moving, even awkwardly, the fog starts to clear and the next step reveals itself. That is the mystery of momentum. It never shows up before you begin, it rewards you after you do. The truth is, most people overthink the first step and underestimate the power of small, consistent effort. The greatest achievers didn't leap to success. They climbed, stumbled, and kept moving anyway. Every bit of motion, every ounce of effort compounds over time. The smallest daily discipline grows into a massive force that's almost impossible to stop. Action feeds belief, and belief fuels more action. Soon the two become a loop of unstoppable progress. Each time you follow through, you teach your subconscious that you can be trusted, and that quiet confidence becomes your leverage. The key is consistency, not explosive bursts of energy that fade by morning, but steady effort that refuses to quit. 1 hour of focused movement each day will outwork a lifetime of unstarted intentions. When you have nothing, action becomes your currency. You may not have capital, you may not have connections, but you can outwork anyone who does. Effort is the great equalizer. The person who takes bold, consistent steps always ends up ahead of the person who waits for conditions to be perfect. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment, and there will never be total certainty. Action creates clarity. You don't find your purpose sitting still. You discover it while moving. Each action gives feedback. Each result teaches direction. And in that process, you begin to build your own momentum, something no one else can lend or take away from you. Once you taste that momentum, you realize it's not speed that matters, B. UT direction. Momentum turns effort into energy. It gives your journey rhythm and power. When you keep showing up, even when no one is watching, you become unstoppable. Momentum makes you harder to discourage, harder to delay, harder to deny. It's the secret power behind every long-term success story. And once it's built, it starts working in your favor. You begin to attract results faster, make decisions faster, and recover from failure faster. The world starts to bend around your consistency. That's the beauty of it. Momentum doesn't just help you move forward, it starts to move you. So wherever you are, start. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for a miracle. Take one step, then another, then another. Because once you're in motion, nothing in the world can stop you, except stopping yourself. Momentum is your proof that movement, even from nothing, creates everything. Almost make it from those who actually do. Every dream, no matter how grand, will test your endurance. The road to success isn't a straight path. It's a winding trail of rejection, fatigue, doubt, and delay. Most people give up right before the tide turns. They stop one effort too soon, one attempt away from breakthrough. But persistence is what carries you through that storm. It is the decision to keep walking when every part of you wants to stop. It's the discipline to rise again after failure, to rebuild after loss, to fight after defeat. When the excitement fades and motivation goes silent, persistence keeps whispering, "Not yet, keep going." That quiet refusal to surrender is the seed of every triumph that ever existed. Result, the test life gives to see how much you truly mean what you say you want. It's the slow, often lonely work of showing up when no one is watching, trusting that your consistency will eventually create the momentum you've been waiting for. Every rejection, every failure, every delay becomes raw material for growth. Persistence turns defeat into data. It converts mistakes into muscle memory. It transforms pain into precision. When you have nothing, persistence is your greatest weapon. You may lack resources, but if you have endurance, you will outlast those who depend on comfort. Time bends for the persistent. Opportunities eventually appear for those who refuse to vanish. Even when progress is invisible, persistence is building something within you. Patience, humility, discipline, faith. Each small act of endurance compounds into something unbreakable. People often look for shortcuts, but there are none worth taking. The only true path is to keep going, day after day, choice after choice, until persistence itself becomes your identity. You stop asking, "How long will this take?" and start saying, "As long as it takes." That mindset alone can rewrite a life. Every legend was once an ordinary person who simply refused to quit. The difference between success and failure is rarely talent, it's endurance. The dreamers who never stop become the doers who never fail. The mountain doesn't move for those who complain. It moves for those who keep climbing. Persistence builds credibility with the universe. It shows that you are serious, that your intention is not fleeting. And once the world recognizes your persistence, it starts to open doors that were never visible before. Because persistence is magnetic, it draws opportunity, respect, and strength to those who live by it. So, when you are exhausted, when the results don't show, when you feel invisible, remember, this is the test. Every great success story was once a story of patience, grit, and relentless endurance. Keep moving, even if slowly. Keep trying, even when it hurts. Because the moment you decide that quitting is not an option, victory becomes inevitable. Persistence doesn't promise an easy path, but it guarantees one thing. If you refuse to stop, eventually you cannot be stopped. The people around you are mirrors reflecting who you are and previews of who you're becoming. No matter how strong your willpower is, you cannot continually surround yourself with small minds and expect to think big. The law of association is simple but unbreakable. Your environment shapes your energy. Your energy shapes your decisions, and your decisions shape your destiny. The people you spend time with either sharpen your vision or blur it. They either feed your fire or pour water on it. Every conversation you have leaves a residue. It either strengthens your belief or weakens it. That's why protecting your circle is not arrogance, it's awareness. You become the average of the minds you expose yourself to. If you walk with the lazy, you'll learn excuses. If you walk with the driven, you'll learn discipline. And when you have nothing, the one thing you can immediately control is who you choose to be influenced by. Association doesn't just mean who you physically spend time with. It also means what you consume, what you read, what you watch, and what you listen to. Every input is shaping your thoughts, consciously or not. If you feed your mind with negativity, fear, and gossip, your thinking becomes small and reactive. But if you fill your world with books that challenge you, conversations that inspire you, and people who expect greatness from you, your mindset expands to match it. You rise to the standard of your surroundings, always. When you start to demand more from yourself, life naturally begins to pull you toward those who share that vibration. It's a law as certain as gravity. Like energy attracts like energy. The higher you climb, the more you'll notice your circle changing, not because you're better than others, but because you're aligning with those who remind you of who you're capable of being. When you have nothing, the right association can become your leverage. A single conversation with the right person can spark a new idea, a new opportunity, a new path. The right community can lift you higher than any amount of money ever could. Surround yourself with people who talk about goals, growth, and gratitude instead of complaints, comparison, and chaos. Be around those who don't just believe in you, but who challenge you to be more than you've been. True friends don't let you settle for mediocrity. They remind you of your greatness when you forget. They call you out, not to criticize, but to help you rise. And if you don't have such people yet, become that kind of person yourself, because energy attracts its equal. When you embody ambition, integrity, and courage, those with the same traits will find you. There will come a time when you must walk away from certain circles, not out of bitterness, but out of evolution. Some connections belong to a past version of you, and if you keep holding on, you'll slow your own growth. The path to success often requires solitude before it brings you a new tribe. Don't be afraid of that in-between season. It's where you're being prepared to meet people who match your next level. Remember, association is more powerful than intention. You can want change all you like, but if your environment contradicts your vision, the environment will win. Choose wisely. Protect your energy like treasure, because the right associations will not only change your direction, they'll change your destiny. You don't rise alone. You rise with the people you choose to stand beside. True success doesn't come from what you take. It comes from what you give. Service is the highest form of leverage because it multiplies your impact far beyond your effort. When you make your mission about contribution instead of competition, you tap into a force that expands your opportunities in ways you could never predict. The moment you shift your focus from self to service, the world begins to respond differently to you. People are drawn to those who create value, who lift others, who give more than they take. Service doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It means using your gifts, your energy, and your time to make something or someone better. When you approach your work with the mindset of contribution, everything you do begins to matter more. Your results gain depth, your reputation gains trust, and your purpose gains power. Every act of genuine service plants seeds that eventually grow into opportunities, relationships, and recognition. The irony is that those who chase success rarely catch it, but those who serve others with excellence have success chase them. The value of service lies in its ability to create ripple effects far beyond your awareness. When you give without expecting anything in return, you start to build invisible bridges, connections that open doors years later in places you never imagined. Service has a way of echoing back to you in surprising forms. A kind word, a generous action, a problem solved. These are not small gestures, they are currencies in the economy of life. The person who serves stands out because service is rare. In a world full of people asking, "What can I get?" the one who asks, "What can I give?" becomes irreplaceable. That's real leverage, to make yourself indispensable by offering more value than anyone expects. When you approach every task, every conversation, and every opportunity with the mindset of contribution, you begin to magnetize success naturally. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. When you have nothing, service can be your bridge to everything. You may not have wealth, status, or connections, but you have the ability to add value. You can offer effort, kindness, ideas, time, or excellence in whatever you do. Every act of service increases your worth because it increases your influence. People remember those who help them, uplift them, or solve their problems. Service is the most powerful form of networking there is because it's built on authenticity, not ambition. When you serve with integrity, people trust you. And trust is the currency that opens doors money can't. Some of the greatest opportunities in history have been born from simple acts of service, from someone deciding to do more than they were asked, to care when others didn't, to give when others withheld. But service isn't just about helping others. It's about who it makes you. Every time you give value, you grow in confidence, empathy, and perspective. You start to understand that abundance doesn't come from holding tightly, but from giving freely. The more value you circulate, the more value returns to you. It's a universal law as unbreakable as gravity. Service refines your purpose, builds your legacy, and reminds you that success without significance is empty. So if you ever feel lost or small, start giving. Contribute to someone's day, someone's dream, someone's hope. When you serve with intention, you move from survival to significance, because the truth is, life rewards those who make life better for others. When your goal shifts from winning to uplifting, you never lose. The value of service isn't just in what it gives the world, it's in what it makes you become. Everything begins and ends with what you believe about yourself. Self-belief is the foundation of all success, the invisible force that shapes how far you go and how much you grow. When you believe in yourself, you activate a power that turns impossibilities into strategies. But when doubt takes root, it paralyzes potential before it ever has a chance to bloom. The greatest battles in life aren't fought in the world, they're fought in the mind. The voice that whispers you can't is often louder than the one that says you can. The transformation of self-belief begins when you decide which voice you will feed. Belief is not something you wait for, it's something you build. It's sculpted through repetition, proof, and persistence. You prove to yourself, one step at a time, that you can trust your own strength. You turn small wins into larger confidence until one day you look back and realize that. Belief isn't just a feeling anymore. It's your default state of being. The truth is, nobody else can give you belief. Validation from others fades as quickly as it arrives. People may doubt you, ignore you, or misunderstand you, and that's fine, because belief built on approval is fragile, but belief built on discipline is unshakable. Real confidence doesn't come from applause, it comes from experience. It's born when you do the thing you once thought you couldn't do. Each challenge overcome, each fear faced becomes another brick in the structure of your faith in yourself. Belief is forged in the furnace of struggle, not in comfort. The moment you stop depending on outside validation and start creating your own evidence of strength, your self-image transforms. You begin to see yourself not as someone trying to become worthy, but as someone who already is. That's the turning point. When you no longer chase belief, you embody it. When you have nothing, belief is your first asset. It's the capital that fuels your climb. The world doesn't hand opportunity to the uncertain. It rewards those who project conviction. Even before results show, people can sense when you believe in what you're doing. Belief has energy. It attracts, inspires, and multiplies. The moment you begin to truly believe in yourself, you raise your frequency, and life starts to respond in kind. You start taking risks, saying yes to chances, speaking with certainty, and moving with purpose. Others follow that energy because it's rare and magnetic. The biggest difference between the person who wins and the one who watches is not talent, it's belief. The one who believes simply keeps showing up, keeps trying, keeps building until success has no choice but to arrive. But belief isn't static. It requires maintenance. You must protect it from negativity, nurture it through gratitude, and feed it with truth. Because every day fear tries to erode it, self-doubt tries to shrink it, and failure tries to die. Stored it. You have to choose belief again and again, even when results are slow, even when progress is invisible. That's the true transformation, when belief becomes a discipline, not just an emotion. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting as though you already are. Self-belief turns you into your own source of power, your own source of validation. It frees you from comparison, from hesitation, from fear, because once you believe in yourself, deeply and unapologetically, no one's opinion can limit you and no obstacle can define you. The transformation of self-belief is the transformation of your entire life. It is the moment you stop asking for permission to be great and start living as though you already are. In the end, every story of greatness comes down to one thing: the refusal to stay small. You can't control where you start, but you can always control how far you're willing to go. The truth is, most people never realize how close they are to a breakthrough when they give up. They quit one effort too soon, one conversation too early, one day before the tide turns in their favor. But the ones who rise, the ones who truly build leverage from nothing, are the ones who keep going when there's no applause, no support, no visible progress. They understand that struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. The universe hides power in pressure. Every challenge you face is sharpening you for something greater. Every setback is shaping your strength, building the endurance you'll need for the next level. When you look back on your journey one day, you'll realize that nothing was never nothing. It was everything. It was the grind that built your character, the silence that taught you focus, the rejection that taught you resilience. You'll realize that your disadvantage was actually your greatest leverage, because it forced you to become resourceful, hungry, relentless. You didn't have options, so you created them. You didn't have privilege, so you built persistence. You didn't have support, so you learned how to stand on your own. That's what separates the powerful from the passive, the willingness to turn pain into purpose and pressure into progress. The truth is, success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who act. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if you don't move, nothing changes. Leverage is built through momentum, through the compounding power of consistent effort. One disciplined day becomes a week. 1 week becomes a month. 1 month becomes a transformation. Before you know it, you've built something that once seemed impossible. That's the secret. There is no secret. It's work, it's vision, it's belief, over and over again, even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, even when no one believes in you but you. That's how you build leverage, not overnight, but over time. And when you finally rise, when people look at you and call you lucky, you'll smile, because you'll know luck had nothing to do with it. It was built in the dark, in the quiet, when no one was watching. It was built in the moments when you had nothing but faith. That's the beauty of starting from nothing. You learn that your power was never in what you had, but in who you became. You realize that success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who deserves it, the person who gives more than they take, who serves instead of complains, who believes when others doubt, and who keeps going when others stop. So remember this, no matter where you are, no matter how little you think you have enough to begin. You have your mind, your will, your hunger, your heart. That's all you need, because from nothing, empires are built. From nothing, legacies are written. From nothing, history changes. You are not too late. You are not too small. You are not powerless. The leverage you're looking for is already within you, waiting to be activated by your courage, your persistence, and your belief. So stand tall. Start now. Refuse to wait for the perfect moment. Build it, shape it, earn it, because when you have nothing and you decide to rise anyway, that's when you become unstoppable. And unstoppable is exactly what you were born to be.